Everyone, I'm Jason Ward from MakingStarWars.net, and I'm on the internet with Rob. Rob's on the internet too. That's how we talk.
We're on the internet.
We're on the internet, guys.
Do they even say internet anymore, these kids? They don't,
We're
right?
on the World Wide Web today. Thank you for becoming a channel member, Colin. Colin is now a channel member of MakingStarWars.net on YouTube on the World
Oh,
Wide Web.
yeah. Hey, we're on
Colin,
our road to 7,000 and 730 subscribers. We've been out there for a year and a half. We haven't grown, but we're
the
trying.
World Wide Web is amazing.
Folks, can we get to 10 grand? I mean, like, I'm just trying to say, Jason,
We
yesterday we were
lost.
talking about.
I think we lost a bunch on like a old account dump thing that happened at one point. But we actually have had like a pretty good growth recently on the channel.
But you and Bespin, like, I mean, like,
Oh
you
yeah,
got
not
so
not
many
fair.
freaking
It's not fair.
scoops, dude. It's just ridiculous.
Yeah,
Like yesterday, they're like, "Oh, Marion. Oh, okay. Someone's in fuck." Well, we already talked about Marion's in fucking Indy because you broke it last fucking summer.
yeah. It is the
People are
way
like,
it
"What?
goes.
What? That's there? It was. You just put that one out there and no one fucking mentions it. Like,
Yeah.
all right, you know.
Well, it is what it is.
Yeah,
Like
no,
that's
I'm not a
that's
bitch. Like,
yeah.
I'm here.
Well, no, I
I'm
mean
here for you,
that's.
Jason.
I'm trying to. How do phones work on the World Wide Web? Okay,
Well,
so
spam.
this one is I don't wouldn't call this a scoop, just call this like more reporting on reality as opposed to fake stuff, like some people.
Sure.
And so Pedro Pascal is talking to the Hollywood Reporter, and they're talking about Mando, and he says there was an extended amount of experimentation, being in the suit for a lot of it, and frankly, my body wasn't up for the task as far as like 4 months of it, but I was in it. I was in a significant amount, an elastic amount. He pretends to tug at his neck where the suit would chafe. But now we figured it out, which is super cool and amazing. It gave me the opportunity to be able to do something else. And then he basically, is going on, and in that interview, and I think a Collider one, he admits that he's just the voice in the last season. And it's what I've been saying is generally the case for 3 years. Bespin Bulletin has also said I never heard he was there, and my same thing. I never heard he was there last year, and all of these Pedro Pascal maniacs, or like come at us and be like, oh yeah, he's in the suit, he's in it all the time. You could tell. Look, this one right here has a different ribbing around the edge of the helmet. That's because it's Pedro's. And it's just like, no, it's not. It's not. Why would, if Pedro Pascal's face is not in the picture, he's going to go make fucking money elsewhere. I mean, it makes complete sense. Don't get me wrong. To the detriment for him, to the detriment of the Mandalorian, though. I think
You're not.
the performance
You don't
and
stay young. You don't stay young forever, right, Jason? If you're hot, you got to get out there while you're.
that's why I'm growing this beard. You know.
Yeah. Oh.
Um.
Okay.
Yeah. No. I'm actually just going through like a Brian Wilson thing where I'm just playing acoustic guitar for like 5 hours straight, not shaving and having a bad time. So it's not
Brian
really
Wilson's who you should be relating yourself
just
to.
just. Well, no. Brian Wilson's
You
cool.
got
It's the
kids.
brother.
Oh, it's
Huh?
the brother, the other Wilson.
It's the brother. Yeah, it's the one.
Oh,
It's
okay.
the Kokomo guy, not Brian
Oh, okay.
Wilson. Not
Okay.
yeah. Brian Wilson's
You set
good.
me straight.
Kokomo guy. Fuck him. Um. Yeah. So, anyways, what was I saying? What were we talking about? Oh yeah, Pedro.
I know.
So yeah, like they were literally insane, and they started getting a little bit crazy, and I was like, oh no, I've seen this level of crazy. I've seen it once in 2019 with the horny Raylos. They're fucking nuts. And I'm like, I'm not touching this shit. You could go on your TikToks and get all crazy about how he's your daddy all you want. I'm staying the fuck away from you guys, because you're nuts.
Smart.
Yeah, you're
Smart.
fucking nuts. But there we have it. Like he's admitting that that's exactly where it's at, And I'm not saying some people shouldn't be horny for Pedro Pascal. By all means, be horny for who you're horny for. It's your right as a consumer of pop culture entertainment, I say. But point being, he's not in it. He's not in the suit. He wasn't in the suit last year. Like I've always said, my story has been consistent for like since 2019 on this one. It's that
Like Bob Lazar.
he came aboard. Well, what I'm telling you.
What?
Um,
I believe him, Bob. And I believe in you.
I want to believe you, Bob. I want to believe you, Bob. But I only believe in me and Yoko. That said, I always heard that Pedro was brought in late, that the contract wasn't really signed, like formalized and finished. The dealing was still going on very late into the process, and then that affected season 2. Season 2 started filming before we ever saw season 1. And that's why certain people in Hollywood have like reported things as if it pertained to the more recent happenings, but it didn't. And it was the stuff like the drama, if you want to call it, even I don't even know if it was truly drama as much as it was like Willin and Dylan, you know? And that shit was going on like in like 2019. And then they made those concessions, and then since then he's taken off, and he's been like, oh, put the fucking helmet back on. You know what I mean? I'll just wear the helmet and I could go do whatever I want. And so I think he saw the light and saw the best of both worlds. He got his face in those shots in the first 2 seasons in prominent, important ways that are unforgettable. So him showing his face on like season 3, I don't see it as a career advantage to him. And you could knock the season and say, oh, well, the season was bad. That's why. No, I mean like literally those moments like with Grogu and stuff, like those aren't there. So it's like it doesn't really. So if I were him, if I were managing him or, you know, in his corner as his friend, I'd be like, yeah, I can go do Last of Us. Don't, you know, just do the voice. Yeah, you're cool. So it makes complete sense for him. Now, I think there's an argument to be made that it's not good for us. It's not good for Star Wars, though. At the same time.
Yeah, I'd say.
I think Pedro being in the suit would have brought out more of the Mando's character in that 3rd season. You know what I mean? Like, there might have been some moments that would have come about that just didn't come about because it was 2 other guys doing the work, you know?
I know people are going to say, hey, look, man, Bob Anderson and that asshole dude.
David Prowse?
Talking about. Yeah, David Prowse. Yeah. They're going to be, well, Tommy Lee Jones wasn't in the suit. It was those dudes.
Tommy Lee and Pamela Anderson?
But I'm going to be honest, man. I wanted Tommy Lee Jones when they pulled off the Vader helmet in Jedi. I was like, just make it Tommy Lee Jones. You know, Luke has
Tommy Lee Jones.
What?
What are you talking about? Tommy Lee Jones, the fucking fugitive? Han Solo's nemesis?
James Earl Jones. I've been waiting to see if you'd pick that one up, Jason. I was waiting.
I literally did not make the connection to James Earl Jones.
I was waiting to see if I had a bet to see if I could get Jason to see if he pays attention to what I said.
Yeah,
but James Earl Jones,
whitest,
the Vader.
Yeah, like the whitest guy in the world, and I'm like not thinking of a black man.
No, the whitest guy in the world was the motherfucker who actually played Vader when they pulled that helmet off, and old Uncle Fester's underneath there.
Oh,
but I was like, it would have been hell if James Earl Jones was fucking Vader, Luke's dad. You know what I mean? White mom, black dad. It's perfectly fine.
Special edition though, right? He takes the helmet off.
But this.
And he's like,
because it's ridiculous when they try to make Hayden's voice sound like Vader. You're like, that's just not the same fucking dude.
Oh no. I mean, I think they should have put Hayden in. I mean, when they were going that far, I think they should have just taken Sebastian Shaw and said, "Bye, Sebastian Shaw."
You didn't honestly need Sebastian Shaw though.
I don't really. No, yes. you can't. You can't paint.
I have a mixed. I don't want to hear it. I have mixed.
You can't paint. I don't want to hear it. You want to paint James Earl Jones pink, he would look like Hera in the Ahsoka show.
That'd be pink. He'd be just fucked up.
So, well, they had already shown the back of his head in the other one.
But we're in a different situation where this dude does take his helmet off. And so it's like, I don't know, man. It is weird, dude, when you're like, imagine the Marvel movies where, you know, Robert Downey Jr. isn't on set for 90% of the film and he just does ADR, right?
Yeah.
It'd be weird. You know what I mean? It'd be weird.
Yeah. I mean, it's like I mean, to some extent, we have, in terms of modern Hollywood, overcasted. Is that the overcasted? He's too big for the role, is what it really comes down to. Like he's had his career, you know, like he's a bigger actor than you would want in that part because now he's just not really accessible for it. So hopefully, they start writing that film, and in that film, Pedro stars in it because he is big enough for the film, and hopefully like that's where he's in the suit and with the mask off and stuff like that, and we just get more from him because I put season 3 of Mando on and watched it like all in a row without the wait between the weeks and stuff like that, and I had a good time just like as like a monster movie, like the same way I kind of like just like watch Clash of the Titans or some shit. It's kind of like fine Clash of the Titans level Star Wars is what I would call it, like original Clash of the Titans. It just has that kind of like it's kind of corny, but lots of monsters and stuff. I had a good time for what it is, but is it the same? Like, does it bring the same game that the first 2 did? Definitely not. Undeniable. It doesn't. And so yeah, but we know for certain what changed, and it's that is one of the things that did change. He's a very charismatic man, and he brings a lot. I mean, Robert Downey Jr., charismatic as fuck. And when you look at when Favreau shit's working, he's working. It's with the charismatic lead, isn't it? Like that's when it's on fire. And
no offense, but who remembers the kid from Jungle Book?
What's that?
You see what I'm saying?
You know what I mean? Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
yeah. I mean, he's
but,
yeah. I mean, and they're like, and it's not like it's like a exactly a formula or something. Like Pedro Pascal's performance as Din and Tony Stark's performances are completely different, but they both do kind of like they do have those moments that kind of pop out, in different ways, but they definitely do. So, anyways, yeah. So that's like that whole thing. Today's May 25th, like the real Star Wars Day. It's kind of cool, I guess. The real one.
The real one.
We got no. We got no 20% off Baby Yoda shirts today or anything, We didn't get StarWars.com telling us how to make fucking cookies that none of you are gonna make. Any of that dumb shit. You know what I mean? It was a bunch of kind of just was like a thing. Kind of just came and went so far, But it's the important day, I'd say. I mean, I'm not saying it. Let's treat it like. I mean, I don't really celebrate anything other than,
I celebrate it. We put out a tree.
I made a tweet. Star Wars cost $11,293,151 when all was said and done. With adjusted inflation, that's like $56.4 million in 2023. So here's the question I have for you, Rob.
It cost $60 million to make the first Star Wars movie in modern dollars.
Yeah, about 56 million.
Huh.
So the question is, could you make A New Hope today for $56 million? And if you could, why is it costing so much for these Mando seasons? Like we should be getting like kind of like movies. You know what I mean? It's kind of weird. I know, but I do. I mean, I know that there's definitely a difference. So they would be making A New Hope style movies for $56 million all the time.
Here's the thing, though, man. There really wasn't a lot of special effects in the first Star Wars film.
Mm-hmm.
And now we have a visual effect shot. Every shot's a visual effect shot. I mean, you really do have to remind the Asators and the younger folks. Go back to the making of the Phantom Menace.
You calling Asatru stupid? Because Asatru's not stupid.
He's just younger. He's just younger.
They
grew up with Marvel movies and Harry Potter. They think this shit's normal.
He thinks that Bay Transformers is normal Transformers like Arya because they're just young bucks.
Like Jurassic Park and Terminator, they had like 100 visual effect shots. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Maybe. And the Phantom Menace had 480 visual effect shots, somewhere around there, right? Like 400 and 500. And then that goes up to like 1,000 visual effect shots by Revenge of the Sith. You know what I mean? Like it's just exponentially. So you can kind of blame Lucas for this in a way. This is why like I appreciate shit like Andor that uses live sets, right? And then sparses in visual effects where you need to. You know what I mean? Like sort of get your money's worth. But But then you have those cats who go, but I'm not wowed in every frame. Every frame used to have some fucking shit. It's the special edition kids. It used to have a fucking robot walk right in the fucking screen for no reason. You know, like.
So like, yeah, like I'm of like two minds on that front. Like, there are times when, you know, you're doing exposition and like you're establishing a vibe and an environment, and then it will carry over. But like, for instance, I was working on this acoustic song. I'm like making like a little acoustic record, okay? And I don't know why, but I went on an overdub odyssey on the song the other day. And I was doing the playback in the car. And I was like, it sounds like really flat. I don't know why. And then I just like went back and listened to like the rough take that I did, way more dynamic. And it was because I layered too many things on top of it, so everything was big. And things are relative. Visuals and audio, everything is relative to what's in the frame or on the sound, what you're hearing or what you're seeing, or both.
Same
and so
with color is relative as well. So if you want something more red, you don't just put more red into the frame. You need to take something out, and that'll make the current reds pop out more. You know, it's relative.
Exactly. Yeah, that's exactly like the same like method or that I'm talking about. Yeah, and that's kind of like where I think we end up on some of these Star Wars films. Like, that's why I think like the only one that did it stripped down but wasn't exactly stripped down was Andor. You know what I mean? Like, when you're going, like, they actually like built the town, so they went really far into it. But then you could like have these moments without anything in them, or not very much in them, and it'll work because you haven't been like, you're not looking for the computer graphics or the brightness and stuff like that. And Andor has a lot. I'm not saying it's like exactly what we're talking about, but it is a little bit weird. I think that in terms of like the production on these things, that we don't sort of have like the, you know, I'm going to say 2/3 of a New Hope, like being made on Disney Plus.
But this is where we got in this conversation about the Green Knight, right? This is where I think like if you could marry the A24 mindset, right, and pop in the ILM sequences once or twice here or there, you know what I mean, and then do set extensions, you end up in that A New Hope, you know, territory, you know.
Yeah.
And like the Green Knight uses really strong visual photography to tell the story. I mean, there's a lot of little visual effects extensions and stuff in that film, but it uses a lot of natural imagery, natural light to get around a lot of that. And so when you're doing the painterly CG look, everything has to fall into, that's just more money, more rotoscoping, more color grading, blah 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 blah. You know, so I mean, like the first Mando, I mean, was pretty done cost effectively. The problem, though, you found out was people are like, oh, it just looks like they're on some rocky planets. It just looks like they're standing in front of a screen. I'm like, that's what it looks like, you know, unless they go outside.
Yeah.
You know, and then that just, I mean, that takes more time, I suppose. Time's kind of the issue, right? When you're that's why Andor takes a little while, because it does take time to composite all this stuff together.
Yeah, first Mando, I did it being super expensive because of the like R&D for the volume and stuff. But yeah, I mean, but that's where I'm kind of like going with some of this in a way, is like, you know, wouldn't it be kind of cool if they did just go out to Yuma, Arizona sometimes?
Yeah.
And like built a little camp, and then just kind of, you know what I mean, did things that were a bit more on the you know, down low, and like smaller in scale, especially now that we're moving away from well, Disney Plus exclusivity on Star Wars and live action, and we're moving back towards like actual like cinematic experiences. It would be kind of probably a good idea, since the methodology they've expressed is the films are spectacle. The films are, you know, that's where the big events happen. That's where the spectacle lies. And so with that in mind, I think that the Disney Plus stuff needs to begin to move away from spectacle and needs to start to move more into the human stories, smaller scale stuff, but with depth. And like, that's where the A24 style productions might play into it. And now I'm just like another side note, like Green Knight is like a good example of what's a story if you did a Han Solo story but with a Jedi. That's Green Knight. go get that
or
guy
Kenobi.
and make that, you know.
Yeah.
It's yeah,
Kenobi
like
could have been that, you know.
mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, because I mean, it's like, you know, because we always see like, oh, the like in Star Wars, the selfish smuggler rogue who only looks out for himself, the pirate, and then at the end he's good, or they're good, that kind of thing. And it's like, yeah, but you know, there's other like tropes to play with here, guys, and things I would like to see. And but I'm glad that they got what's his name on Skeleton Crew, the guy who did Green Knight. So maybe that's going to start that like conversation. But I will also say the work he's done for Disney has not been good to me. The man who made the Green Knight is not the same man who made Pete's Dragon and that Peter Pan movie for Disney Plus. I don't understand it. I don't get how that creator, that artist makes the same thing there. It blows my mind. But I guess maybe there's a difference between the ones he does for himself and the ones he does for Disney. But I'm hoping when he does one for Disney and it's Star Wars, that also happens to be for him and it plays that way, if that's what it is. Or maybe it's like we always say, the world is just chaos and you never fucking know what you're going to get. It's just kind of how it goes.
It is part of that. I mean, look, if it were that easy, you know what I mean, we wouldn't be having this conversation. They'd be doing it.
Right.
But I do think that, you know, look, it depends on what they're trying to do. If they're gonna spend $100 million on something, you know, this is why I appreciate James Cameron, because Roger Corman, you know, if you go listen to Blockbuster, the podcast, they did a whole James Cameron. The first season was a George Lucas, so you can listen to that. That's fun. And then I thought they refined their process way better in the second season, and then COVID hit and they went out of business. But they did a James Cameron. It's like an audio drama of his life, right? But in between, they do interviews, and one of the interviews was with Roger Corman, right? They got Roger Corman on, and Roger Corman's like, hey, man, that guy could take 40 grand and make it look like $4 million. You know? Like, that's what he brought to the set. And I really think, like, that's something that, unfortunately, since the prequels, we don't have enough of in this industry. We don't have people striving to do that. How do we make something look like more? You know, like sometimes you get it, like Blur Studios, they did a really good job on Deadpool, making $70 million look like $150 million.
Yeah, everything, everywhere, all at once was maybe the last one of the last ones.
They made that for like 20. They made it for nothing, dude.
Yeah, not even a New Hope money.
And like the only thing that falls apart is when James Hong has that mech suit thing that it didn't look good. Like, yeah, his wheelchair turns into like a RoboCop suit, and it's like, yeah.
But I laughed. I still laughed though. I was like,
it is because he can sell anything.
Yeah.
You know, like he has one line in the Electric Mayhem series on Disney Plus, which the Muppets are good, the people aren't. But James Hong shows up and he says one fucking line. He calls Animal the Chosen One, and I'm like, it's so fucking good. Like, that guy is so good. But that's what I'm saying. Like, that turning, you know, spending 40 grand and making it look like 40 million is a fucking talent. You gotta fucking know how to not just make a penny last, but make it look like more than it is. And that's the ingenuity. That's where I never thought calling ILM Industrial Light and Magic, I never thought that was pretentious as a kid, because it felt like what they were doing was magic. What I feel we're in now, not just with visual effects, but all technology in general, is we brute force things all the time. And it's not smart. Let me give you an example. Like when they add RTX, you know, ray trace lighting to these NVIDIA cards, and people are like, look, I put ray tracing into Minecraft, and it's this brute force lighting technique that's non-optimized, non-designed. It just sort of adds this lighting to everything, and it just kills CPUs. Shit runs at like 20 frames per second. But look, it's amazing. And then Nintendo takes, you know, Wii U tech and makes a Zelda game that, you know, has infinite physics and the ability to glue shit together in any way, shape, or possible. You know, like that's the thing, you know, and it's running on this thing that is vastly inferior to your cell phone, you know? Like,
yeah.
And we need that mindset. In America and American mindsets right now we're just not there. We're not there. We don't have that ingenuity as a culture right now, you know?
Yeah, but when it comes down to it, like it's not really motivated maybe. I mean, I don't work in the industry, so I'm guessing, but I don't think Jon Favreau has the same fire under his ass to save $1 that George Lucas would have had. Like it's Disney's money.
The Favreau who made Zathura might, right? But the Favreau who makes the Lion King remake,
yeah, I mean the one who's getting the paycheck that says Walt Disney Studios on it.
This is where I really think, man. Like I'm certain he's a personality to deal with. But I really think the ILM and them should be hooking up with Tim Miller and Blur Studios for some of these Star Wars Disney Plus projects. You know what I mean? Put that dude on a budget of $70 million. You know what I mean? Give Blur Studios a big fucking shout out, Let some of your animation directors and some of your whatever direct actual episodes, and you're going to get that ingenuity. You're going to get a bit more of that because there's a bigger investment for visibility.
Yeah.
I
think it would be cool if they took like a bunch of like journeyman level writers and were just like, paid them the scale just to be like, write me a Star Wars script. Just give me the 1 hour or whatever. And then they just like, paid, did that for a little while and then just started taking those and then developing those that were good. The ones that like really connected.
That's a good point, because I'm not going to talk about myself in this, but 20 something years ago when I wrote my own 1998, I wrote a fan film that I was going to storyboard. This is going to be storyboards, right? I was going to do an animatic, like a 90-minute long animatic. And I'd like the idea of the Taras Kasi, the Kung Fu Force stuff, because I didn't want to do lightsabers and shit, right? But I was like, Kung Fu ain't enough. It needs something. It needs the magic. Force is magic. So I was like, what if, it was where this Kung Fu shit was developed on, there's a planet called Palawa that was in the fucking EU, right? But I was like, what if that you just had these people that they could manipulate the elements with the Force? So you had these fire ones, you had these earth ones, you had these water ones, and then you had the New Republic moving in, the technology, right? And it was this battle between, colonialism, right? And like when there's no pressure over you, there's no studio like demanding, when you can just write something, you can create, something inventive, that they could then manipulate. I mean, that idea ends up in Avatar: The Last Airbender fucking 5 years later. You know what I mean? I didn't have anything to do with it. But like I think about that, like, man, like, is there someone with the next Airbender idea that could end up in Star Wars, but because there's a system that sort of has its own expectations, you know what I mean? Like its own internal expectations might stifle people from even suggesting certain things because maybe that isn't Star Wars. Yeah. And that's what you got to like, that's where fans go when they see someone, when I hear like, look, I haven't seen Acolyte, but when I hear Leslie Headland, hiring people who aren't in the norm, to do story, I'm like, that's an exciting thing for me, because you can always put something on Star Wars after you have it in the ringer, right? You can just shift it a little bit. Yeah. But no one was like, this is Star Wars, that isn't Star Wars in 1975, 76. They were trying to figure out what Star Wars was. Right. And so I just think like that's what we're sort of missing. And I agree with you. There should be, I don't know what their story department's like.
And for the record, they might have done this for all we know. We would never hear about it if they did. I don't know. Like I've never heard anything like that.
When I see that, the closest I've seen to it is the Visions material. Yeah. The Visions material has more of this. It's Star Wars, but it's different. You know what I mean? It's new and it's getting better. Like the stories in the execution level on Visions, I'm like, any one of these could be expanded into a 6-episode series if you didn't go too crazy with it. You know what I mean? Any one of these. Right. So it's like, what's the disconnect there? What's keeping that from happening? Or when they do go in, like Kenobi's a great example for me because like in some ways it's like I know like Meg and Azatru and them kind of had a problem with it. I don't know if Azatru, I know Meg had a problem with it. And I'm like, see, now this to me is prequel-like writing, but with no budget. Like, imagine if the prequels had no visual effects. You'd be like, well, what the fuck are we watching? Well, what are we here for? Like, you got Ewan doing his thing, and Ewan's great. Ewan was great in the prequels. I'm not going to complain about Ewan McGregor in any of those movies, man. You know.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
then you got
You never
some of
drops
this
the ball.
absurd other level of acting where you're like, are you in the same fucking room? Like, what? Who's doing this? And then you got. So I think about that, like, at, how do you execute on a small idea but keep it at the Star Wars A New Hope level scale? I was hoping that's what Disney Plus series were going to be. You know,
Yeah.
like.
Well, that's what I find like interesting about, like, for instance, like the Phantom Menace or Attack of the Clones or Revenge of the Sith, is that you end up having like the acting is really really like dinner theater level at times, and you're like, okay, but then it's okay because it has that shortcoming, but then it gives you like the pod race. It brings like the Darth
Correct.
Maul fight, like that's where like those
And the pod
movies.
race is so good, it's still the visual effects of the pod race hold up,
Timeless.
right?
Yeah, yeah, it's completely
Yeah.
for all of the shit talking of the like of the CGI in those movies. The pod race will fucking be fine for eternity. They don't ever have to do anything to it. Like, you know what I mean? There's other effects in certain shots, sure. But
It's
like
just that
like
announcer, that fucking announcer. I can't
yeah,
say that's the
it's Greg
one thing
Proops.
that
Come
I'm like,
on, did it?
I can't. I don't know why he did
Moeller
that.
Moeller, she wrote, had Greg Proops on, and when I was doing Now This Is Podcasting, my old podcast, she had him like do the announcement thing for me, and he did it, but it's like because he said it wrong. He was like, it wasn't like Now This Is Podcasting. It was like, this is podcast. I don't care. It was something. It was just off. And I remember like getting in the audio, like trying to edit it to make it work and stuff. And I was like, but he was nice though. He tried. He gave it a go. He
Couldn't
tried
even
to
do
help
that
us.
right, could he, Jason?
No, he didn't do it. He did a good job. He did what they he did.
He's
What
your
he was hired to
buddy,
do.
but he's not my
No,
buddy, so I
I've
can
never met him.
I
mean, but no, it was nice.
like if I complain or you complain, Craig Proots is gonna show up to your house and kill us all, right?
Great.
Like
I mean,
John Wick.
he's like,
she was talking shit.
What's that show? Other show he's on? Yeah, it's he'll do. Whose knife is it, anyways? Stabs me. So it's possible, but yeah. But when it comes to like just like the small scale, like A New Hope level, like Star Wars, like what's kind of amazing about Star Wars when you think about it is it starts at A New Hope, and then it goes into Empire Strikes Back, which when you really get down to it, does get way bigger. Like it does start to grow, but in action, but the director made like a more intimate story. Like it's almost like a contradiction. An Empire Strikes Back got way bigger, but the characters got deeper, more intimate. Like it's more personal, like in every single way. So it's like, so that's not just to say that just going the New Hope way is like some kind of magic, but you can definitely like get by with that a lot further. And I think the Kenobi series itself, had it done that, had it been filmed in Yuma, Arizona, or Buttercup Valley, whatever the fuck, for a cheap ass Tatooine, and most of it just took place in things, places that were just very practical, it would have been so much better. It would have looked so much better. And obviously the snow speeder, everyone agrees they should have done the snow speeder across the board. That was a bad idea, but here we are. And that's why when I hear people trying to speak for George Lucas about what his intentions are, what he wants and shit like that, like what he would do and all that stuff, it's like it's completely fucking bullshit across the board. The corporation.
The only thing I've ever been able to say.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing I know you're going to elaborate a bit before you do. The only thing I've ever been able to pinpoint, in my own opinion, that I think Lucas would have done. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying he would have done it, but he would. This is a type of idea he would have executed.
In general, or in Kenobi?
In general, would have been something like a young Indy and an old Indy in the same movie together. Like to me, that's totally a Lucas type thing he would have done. Yeah, like it's like a technology thing meets a story thing meets some kind of like he's quirky. You just can't
Yeah.
you can't pinpoint, you know, like, but you can. I think you can triangulate, you know, to an extent. Yeah.
Yeah. By the way, without spoiling it for anybody, I watched Ted Lasso last night, and just for everyone, when they go to play the pinball machine, it totally telegraphs something. When they go to the pinball machine, look at the pinball machine.
I haven't seen last night's episode.
Okay, so when you see it, and it telegraphs the end, I think. But in doing so, it occurred to me when at the end of Indiana Jones, the next film is The Wizard of Oz, isn't it? Like, goes away, comes back, wakes up, and, you know, was it all a dream? No, in this instance, but everybody who was involved in the adventures is alive and is there in the same thing, and then you kind of have that atonement that you can go home. And so I was like, so my theory is when we see the movie, was he going for a Wizard of Oz ending on the indie film? He might not. But I was thinking about it just in terms of bullet pointing it. Mm-hmm.
Is It's a Wonderful Life older than Wizard of Oz? Because it had a similar ending, or is that that's
no?
After
no, I think that one's like probably
40s,
that's right? Like 40s, 50s. Yeah, I want to say
because that's when he started the studio. Like, remember?
I think
he started his own
Wizard of Oz is 33, right? Wizard of Oz film. Let me see. I think that was 33. That was 39.
Okay.
Wizard of Oz was 39, and then It's a Wonderful Life. Sorry, guys, I'm on my Packard Bell. That was 1946. So yeah.
Gotcha.
I mean the book for Wizard of Oz, obviously. I don't know if the book ends that way. I never read the book as a kid or an adult. So, but you know.
Yeah, thanks to Gary Kurtz, I wanted nothing to do with Wizard of Oz.
Oh. That was pretty cool. But anyways, what I was gonna say was like George Lucas sort of becomes like, you could use him like how charlatans use religion, like when you get down to it, because a certain George Lucas would want to make everything for cheap. In some ways, the old George Lucas too. Young George Lucas was cheap. Old George Lucas was cheap. Old George Lucas wanted to use like technology to the max. But he also like wanted to go and like make a Star Wars television show shot on DSLRs and with high quality lens. He wanted to put like $20,000 lenses or some shit like on, you know, I think the guy Philip Bloom, the photographer, is the guy who was like, they were like talking to and doing research with, and he filmed some stuff for Lucasfilm. And I think together they were, that's what they were kind of like looking into the possibilities of making that work. But my point is George Lucas's vision was obviously trying to get as close to a cinematic quality as you could on TV without paying for it. But in reality, it's never going to be the same as shooting on film. It's never going to be the same. You know what I mean? It was never going to be a one-to-one. It was never going to fool you. And if you're like critical of general Disney Plus content, you were going to be critical of what Lucas was going to like do. And people were critical of the prequels, even when they looked really good. Even when like Revenge of the Sith like creates like that whole like new depth of field in the visual effects, and it's like, wow, this is a lot better. Nobody gave it credit. Nobody would really acknowledge it. They were just like, you know, they had the talking point thing. So with all of that in mind, like when people say what George would do and honoring George, well, like what the fuck are you talking about? That's what fans need to start calling out, like YouTubers like myself who say shit like that. Because what the fuck are you talking about? Which George Lucas? The fucking
which George Lucas?
33-year-old? You know what I mean? The guy who fucking hung out with Coppola like a lot and was like his little squire? Or are we talking like fucking George Lucas from the 90s? You know, it's
Zoetrope Lucas is a bit different than Marin County Lucas, you know.
Yeah, and being put through the like the ringer on those films and the like physical effects of making those movies and the stress and shit like that. That changes the motherfucker. Like, fair enough. Like it would change me. I know for certain if I would have if I took a $30 million loan for Bank of America to pay for the Empire Strikes Back, I would be like, I think I would be shaking. Like, I'd be like, I don't know how I'm gonna, you know what I mean? That's a lot of pressure. Think about your fucking student loans, you guys, about how that makes you nervous sometimes. Imagine if it was $30 million in 1978.
Right. You know? We could all sit back and go, well, Star Wars, it'll make its money back. It's guaranteed. I'm like, there's no guarantee in 1980. I mean, look, I gotta be honest. There is a guarantee for Jedi that it's gonna make its money back. Like, like just on the toys alone, like that was sort of a proven commodity at that point. Yeah. But the box office returns were not as wide a margin as they are. But
today, when you're George Lucas and your whore wife is fucking the carpenter that you're paying to make your shit.
People they're not gonna sense the sarcasm there. They're gonna take you seriously.
She's a whore. No. But when you look at what George Lucas was facing while making Return of the Jedi, he was facing losing half of that. So the given that is Return of the Jedi, now cut that given in half, and that's where Lucas is coming from. You know what I mean? It's pretty fucking scary. So, but
we're in Disney territory now. Right?
Point being, yeah, but no, I'm more talking about the people who talk about how this multinational corporation is Disney a multinational corporation? Does it consider that? I don't know, but I think it should be. But whatever. What it does is it's almost impossible for it to behave like any version of George Lucas that you have in your mind that you want to use as a fuck puppet to make whatever point you want.
Right.
So you should not follow Disney Star Wars if you can't take that. And at the end of the day, because it's like a different thing. But at the same time, all we could really hope for is that the creators who they hire to write, film, make the stuff to make Star Wars, that they are doing what they truly believe would be the intent of George Lucas, like in themselves. You know what I mean? Like, I think the fucking George Lucas that I value, I think this guy, I think he would be proud of this. Like, if I did this, and I'm proud of this, like that's, I think what we could basically hope for. That's it. That's the only.
And I think the mentality that should look, if I could be there in the fucking room, be like, look, guys, here's fucking Rob's 2 cents. As I just think the mentality with Disney Plus shows should be character based, like 1 or 2 characters. Don't expand your cast past a group of 5. Don't give me 37 fucking Mandos in a shot. If you're gonna do 37 Mandos in a shot, it's at the season ender or it's when you transfer it to a movie.
Yeah,
like. Because all that shit requires a tremendous amount of fucking money for suits and blah 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 and stunts, and it can't be done. You got to do it smaller and leaner. You need that overseas, like the Ray, like those guys when they make something overseas, right? You need that kind of mentality more than you need what we do here, where it's like it's a big production, but we're just gonna do it, in 3 episodes and scale and drag it out, blah blah blah. Because we can see, it's not like we're stupid. We can see the edges, you know what I mean? Like we can feel it. Like there's no reason to have a big CGI General Grievous like villain that never appears again in the series. That's in 1 episode. That's a colossal waste of money. You got to get your money's worth out of that. That thing's going to be in that thing. It should be coming back at the end of the episode, at the end of the series.
Wow. Remember on that one they made it with the practical witch. But we had,
I hear you, but that's my whole thing. Like that's what. Look, man, that's kind of what they're fighting for with the WGA, right? We need a writer's room and not a writer room, right? Unless you're going to go out and be an auteur filmmaker and make this thing yourself. We got one guy. Dude, I heard one of the guys on the picket line was saying that he had to single-handedly deal with 52 episodes of children's animation, dude. He's working 80 hours a day.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what is that shit? Like
doing doing 4 jobs at once.
Yeah, and that's ridiculous. Yeah. You need the help, but they're like, oh, we don't want to pay for it. Like, well, we'll get someone else to do it. It's like, come on, man. Like that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
So it's a separate conversation, but
well, yeah. I mean, and all it's going to do is burn the person out. It's not going to
kill them. What it's going to do.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Arya asks, the Rogue One Vader was perfect. The Kenobi Ahsoka Vader just doesn't feel or look like him. Why couldn't they bring the Rogue One dude back? So I think there's like a couple of things. The first is that the Rogue One Vader was filmed by Dave Filoni, and then they had to kill everybody involved in it to hide that secret. I'm joking. Realistically,
God, I wish it were true.
No, it probably has to do with the fact that Rogue One was filmed in the UK, so the actor is in Europe, and to bring him over would be like and housing him and all of that stuff. It's a whole thing. So you just go for the best that you can. And in reality, though, that Darth Vader that you get in those few moments, number one, was shot correctly. That's a big part of why it wasn't necessarily the man. I'm not saying he didn't do his part, but it was the fact that it was shot right. Darth Vader wasn't sitting down and getting up in frame, like just stupid shit like that Kenobi did.
Greg Fraser, man.
And so, but also when you if you just took the Darth Vader shots and like timed them out, it's nothing compared to the amount of Darth Vader shots in the Kenobi series. So for all we know, they could bring, what's his name? Spencer? Can't remember now. But you bring him over and then you might get the same thing. It might be a 1-to-1 at the end of the day. So, but I do agree. I do think it's like, they're using AI now for the voice, and but it might be, time to really cast the person who is Darth Vader in the suit for whatever happens to come up, for the next decade or whatever. They might want to go that route, and then that way it's at least consistent and that person does a good job. Like I think like Peter Mayhew is irreplaceable as Chewbacca. But the guy who they got is pretty fucking good. Like I doubt they can do. I doubt it's unlikely they would get better than who they got. You know what I mean? If they saw 200 more people of that size, they probably
in software development.
Yeah,
Jason, in software development, there's a term they use called best use practices, right?
Mm-hmm.
And like, I'm not always a big proponent of it because it tends to lead people to like create the same thing over and over again.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think when you have a company that is known for something and they're going to keep making that something for a while, when they find something that works, like here's how we fucking made Vader work in combat, here's how we made Vader work, blah 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 blah. And this, here's how he looks.
So like, I'm a carpenter, I do really good jobs, and I fuck your wife. Like, and I always.
That means you have a best use practice. Don't deviate too much from this. And if you do it once, give it a shot, try see what it looks like. But any person with an artistic eye can look at the shots of Vader and Kenobi and tell you, no, don't do that. It does not look good. And I get, like, there's people out there who go, I don't know, Rob looks fine to me. I'm like, yeah, but you probably don't make your fucking money in art. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, I'm telling you, it ain't good. And I am not as picky as people think. Like, I'm not over here telling you it's all shit, Jason. Like, I like a lot of the lighting and visual effects work done in Revenge of the Sith, except for that neon green lighting they use in General Grievous's. It's horrible. Never use that green lighting. It's bad. It's a bad time. It sucks. It's fucking vomit. Other than that, man, like,
it represents the toxic nature of the Trade Federation. Rob.
If you're going to, let me give you an example. So if you're going to film Coruscant during the prequel area, you look to Revenge of the Sith. Maybe some of the lighting in Attack of the Clones, right, with the big chase sequence they do up in the air. There's some interesting stuff there. In the way that they're doing this remake of Metal Gear Solid 3, right? And Metal Gear Solid 3 on the PS2 had this yellow and green vibe to the color palette. And in the remake, that shit's gone. It's gone. It's like that, but that yellow and green palette was the fucking game, man. And when you remove that, then what are you doing? You're just like, but we got HD textures and realistic people. And I'm like, that ain't the spirit in which that was made. So like, make something else that looks like what you're making, but don't call it a remake and you ignore the lighting palette. So if you're going to revisit an era, and we've just sort of defined what that era looks like, you can still give it a real world feel, maybe with the prequel stuff, but you still have to maintain some of those color palettes to make it feel like that era, or that, and they kind of miss some of that. There's a lot of that stuff when they revisit an era in a certain time frame, or they revisit a feeling, and it's like, do you watch your own shit? That's what I'm just wondering. Do you watch it, or how? And I don't know, man. It's confusing to me, you know? Like, if you're going to say a bunch of stuff's connected and then you go to like the Fortress Inquisitus and it don't fucking look or feel the way it did in a 40-hour video game everyone fucking played, I don't know what the point is. Like, why do you even want to have that argument? You know, like,
well, so honestly, on that one, I played the game when it came out, and then I didn't play it really, you know, and then I watched the show, and I didn't actually notice that it was different. It didn't stand out to me, but it did stand out to the fans who were big fans of the game. So
as an artist, it stood out to me. You know what I mean? Like I was like, look, I'm not the world's biggest expert of this shit, but even I can tell, like, this is crazy. You know, like.
Yeah, but that's
so weird, dude.
I think that's, I mean, that would be, I think, like, if you want to look at it from like an executive's perspective on that, I think that would be the hard part of their job, is the fact that they have seen so many visual effects throughout their time. They know a good visual effect, they know a bad one. But I think that there's also this weird line, and it's like, I feel like there's a lot of times when they're like, oh, this might get by. And then there's a lot of stuff that has got by that they didn't think would. And so, it does. And it's like, I think that's where they have that like disconnect, and also time. I think Kenobi looks that way, for instance, because of time. But Ben wants to know if you have a guess about how much it would take to remake A New Hope today. Like I mean,
have a guess, or you?
Yeah, he's us. He's asking how much do you guys think it would take to remake A New Hope today? And like I think that movie could probably be done for the cost of a Mando season. So you know what I mean? I think they could probably do it for $100 million today, when you look at what it is. But I don't know. I mean, I'm only guessing because, you know, I'm not a real producer.
Depends on tax credits. You know what I mean? Depends on, like,
let's say in Southern California and El Segundo and Manhattan Beach. You know what I mean? And they're going out to Arizona and California and Death Valley, and just remake. Because I mean, like, I think the whole thing is as cheap as can be for a Star Wars production until you get to the X-Wing battle at the end. That's the one thing that like where all the money would go.
And it was the one thing that Lucas knew Fox would cut when they wanted to save money on the movie. And he was right. They wanted to do that.
Yeah.
So he had them spend all their time working on it, so they couldn't cut it.
Yeah.
You know, you get him in the hole for $4 or $5 million, they're not just going to trim it from the film, you know? Like,
well, you know, one thing that I never hear brought up that in my mind, like, if I could interview George Lucas, I want to be like, you're doing all of this to make sure that this can get made, right? Why the fuck would you kill Alec Guinness at that point? Because if Alec Guinness, like, you would think Alec Guinness not being in those parts anymore, in those moments, like, really in any tangible way, that was studio fuel. You know what I mean? That was a reason for the studio to be like, oh, we definitely don't need it. You know what I mean? Like you're taking one of, like, the big star of the film. He's not even in the third act. So, like, we could lose the third act. And so, like, I find that, like, that interesting that they didn't maybe wait to film the Kenobi death stuff till, like, the very end. You know what I mean? That it wasn't, like, pushed around or whatever, or kept secret or something. But I feel like there's something more there, because that had to go through their minds. Because when you have Alec Guinness in the third act and he's doing something, like, I don't know, you just think that would have come up. Like, if I was an executive and I was trying to not give them another 10 million or something, I would be like, yeah, you guys don't even have fucking Alec Guinness here. So when they do save the princess and they get out, that's good enough, you know?
But that was their whole point, because he's not in the movie. They already saved the princess, you know?
Right. Well, I don't know if I've never heard that they brought up Alec Guinness being dead at that point. I just heard that you saved the princess.
No,
that's a good
Paul
spot.
Hirsch brought it up in his book.
Uh-huh. Wait, what is his
argument?
That Alec was gone?
He's already dead.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I haven't read Paul Hirsch.
They've considered him the lead guy in a way.
Yes, I'm pretty smart.
You know? Yeah.
Yeah.
So that Paul Hirsch book is interesting. I mean, it's not a lot on Star Wars. It's like 2 chapters.
So
but.
was that just a tactical error on Lucas's part then, that things unfolded in that way? Like, because remember, Alec Guinness wasn't supposed to die in the shooting script,
right?
And then they decided, oh, there's really nothing for him to do after this moment. Let's have him, become the ghost there.
I think that might have a little more to do. Marcia, as Paul was describing it, was pushing for more emotional stuff.
Yeah.
So that's why she focused on the battle at the end. And I think they were trying to find a way to make that battle more emotional.
Mm-hmm.
So if you kill Obi-Wan, then that puts Luke on his own at the end. And I could see her editing that battle saying, look, if Kenobi's in the thing talking to him, it's just like a pep talk every 3 seconds. You know what I mean? But if he's gone, then Luke, you start to feel that character's on the edge of everything going. If he can die, anyone can die. I think that happens that way, if I had to guess.
And if you trace the, like, what actually happens of the significant events, not TIE Fighter pans and hit guy goes, he's on my tail. No, I'll take all that shit out of there. You basically just have Luke Skywalker having his allies picked off one by one, like Biggs is
until
his
killed. Friend comes
Wedge, Wedge. Him, well, and then also, but then is like, well, but he saves him, but has to bone out. And then it's like all about to, like, now you got to hit the ball, Luke. You know what I mean? We can't hit the ball for you at this point. You got to hit the home run. And then he does. And that's why it's like the best moment. It's a great moment.
Yeah.
That's the one thing about, like, I'd say for A New Hope, I don't think any movie has ever been as good as the end of A New Hope the first time you see it. Like, at the end. Nothing, at least I could think of. Ghostbusters 2, pretty fucking good at the end. All in New York singing fucking higher and higher. But I mean, you feel pretty good at the end of Ghostbusters 2.
Getting worse, this conversation.
And then the painting, it doesn't have Vigo anymore. It's them. It's them now. It's great.
Stop.
Oh, by the way, Bill Murray. Yeah. My friend Bestman Bulletin, we were talking. And Bill Murray has been around the Ghostbusters set a lot recently. So he might be in that new one. I have a theory that he got canceled and he's like, I better do some fucking pop shit. I better be in the Ghostbusters movie.
That scene at the end of Afterlife between him and Dana, where they're doing the cards thing, I thought that was really good. Actually.
Yeah. Yeah, like it was
felt
cute.
like he was being genuine, that Bill Murray. You know what I mean?
I'm sure he
felt like he was being, right, and there's chemistry there. I just feel like I haven't seen him be that real on camera since his Scrooge speech.
Yeah, and when he does those fucking Wes Anderson things, it's all like, look at me, kind of shit the whole time.
Yeah, it's not. No,
it's smelling your own farts. They're pretty movies, but they are smelling your own farts, and liking it. Wes Anderson movies.
Okay. Really.
Yeah. Don't you all smell your own farts and like it. But
really don't, my friend. And I know my dog has to sometimes, and he gets real mad at me. Like, motherfucker. I'm like, you literally sniff shit out in the backyard, but if I fart, no.
Yeah. But anyways, Shogun Order, thank you for the super chat, dude. He says, I sort of took Guinness doing his own thing for a while in episode 5, like a spirit doing stuff in the background, so the heroes could succeed, but I don't know. Yeah, that's what essentially it is. I mean, by the end of it, like he's showing up, he's the voice in like Luke's ear and stuff like that. But he, in that moment, has no power to do the thing for Luke. He has no power to be like, I'm a Jedi, I'll use the Force and do it. Luke needs to do it. Like, he has to, and that's how Alec Guinness, from what I could recall, gets really upset when they kill him. He didn't sign on to the movie as a guy who dies, and now they're killing his character. But then he's eventually convinced that you're going to become like, you're the ultimate wizard. You are like the Force. You're this cosmic entity that is now guiding the hero in ways that are much more powerful than they were before. And he's like, oh yeah. And I do think that, like, Lucas didn't fuck with him. He didn't fuck him over. He, like, what he said was true. Like, the rationale
and
behind
he paid
it.
the man.
But like, paid him, but also like let go Luke in those moments. Like he is like basically in the ship with Luke. You know what I mean? Like in the important moments when you get down to it. So I think that's why Alec came back the times that he didn't want to but did. And I think it's because he wasn't fucked over. You know what I mean? By Lucas. And he was upfront with them about why it was important and what the rationale was, and it was correct. Because I mean, I'm not an actor, but I could see, if you're, oh, now we're just gonna kill your character, and you're just like, that's got to be kind of like, oh, fucking, are you serious? That's got to hurt, even if it's the right answer, because you're invested in that performance and what that character's existence and power is on screen. And then now it's like, no, we're gonna kill you. And I'm sure there's a part of it that's like, was it because I wasn't good enough? I don't know if Alec Guinness would feel that at that point in that movie, but maybe still, actors are the most fucking unhinged people in the world, I would say.
Really? Not religious people?
What's the difference? Maria,
tax credits.
We're all pretending.
Actors don't get to live tax free, my friend.
We're all pretending. This isn't it. This is it.
Yeah.
This is the point. Maria says it was decided in the editor's room. True. I mean, it's, I if somebody said it wasn't, I would fight them on that. And when somebody says it is, I want to fight them on it.
You're a bit of a contrarian.
No, it's not the contrarian. It's just that it's not that simple. Like
right.
there's agency going on between all of the filmmakers in those moments that made that shit work. And so it's like, you don't want to take it from anybody. But then when you put the light on like Marsha, then it's like, yeah, Marsha made a lot of movies. They're all right. You know what I mean? None of them are Star Wars for the most part. And it's like, so it's like the fucking Beatles. Like I don't like Paul McCartney, man. I think Paul McCartney, like Wings, is the shittiest, most awful band to ever fucking exist. And like Linda McCartney is completely the fucking worst. No, not that bad. But Linda McCartney with her fucking 2-finger keyboard shit. Oh God. But you put Paul with fucking John and Ringo and you know what I mean? And George, and I'm like, oh yeah, don't fuck with anything. Everybody bring something to this, So that's just kind of like how, like, it goes, because like I could see like Lucas really believing that it was all him. I could see it based off of the work that he did and his choices that he made. And knowing that when he makes a choice, it's going to bounce around other people and end up at the spot. That's where he made the right choices as a director, though, is the sense that, like, he threw the shit out there knowing what these people he put in those positions would probably bring him. So, and as a director, it's like, that's good. It's strong, but at the same time, it's like, yeah, that's why I like the idea that they make, like that ILM documentary that was made on Disney Plus recently. That's great. I think that's really good. I think that, so I do like all of these like various like histories sort of existing and people kind of getting their contributions and the work that they did sort of like focused on. It's better than, like those soundbitey, E in the 1990s VHS extra cassette fucking behind the scenes things that you get, so like, yeah, but man, on subscribed, Colin says, fuck you, Jason, Ram is a great album. I'm gonna give you Ram, but I'm also gonna say that for all the good it did, they did a hell of a lot worse in the world. They brought a lot of worse shit into play. But hey, but I like John Lennon's stuff. They released records called Naked. There's a couple of Beatles ones that way too, where they take out a lot of the unnecessary production and shit, you know, that like was like of the time, you know what I mean? Like that fucking like a really tacky organ or something that just gets in the way, you know? And it's just like the guitars and the vocals and the drums and the bass. And the Naked records for the John Lennon like double fantasy, it's so good. So much better. If you ever go on a John Lennon Odyssey, Rob, I suggest doing the Naked release. Let It Be, was it Let It Be had a Naked one too? But yeah, anyways, Patrick says, correct, Jason, just like Queen. Freddie on his own, okay. Queen with no Freddie, well, okay. Altogether, fire. Yeah, 100%. Brian May solo records, about that shit first day. Want to hear a really embarrassing story? I'm sure. I'm like 11 or 12. I'm obsessed with like Queen, like as a kid. And then like Brian May, Freddie dies. Brian May does a solo record called Back to the Light, and he's touring in my city. And guess what? He's playing at the Whiskey, right? I fucking ditch school. I take the bus down to the fucking Whiskey, and I wait in line that morning. And like the tickets go on sale. I get my fucking tickets to see Brian May and that record. And the Back to the Light record, it's not good, Rob. It's not a good record. There's some stuff I like on it, but it's not a good record at all. And when I go to the show, like months like later, they don't let me in because I'm not 21. And I'm like set up. I'm crying. They didn't give a fuck. You know what I mean? And then I was like, somebody's like trying to like buy the tickets off me, and I'm like, no, it's collectible. I don't have. I wish I had sold it. I don't have the tickets anymore. I don't know what happened to them. But yeah, but I mean that's what's kind of funny, Patrick. You were saying that because there's a couple of like, you know, people are doing like messing with AI, and there's a couple of Oasis songs where they're putting Freddie on Oasis, and Freddie AIs onto Oasis really good, like really fucking well. Like the I think vibrato is an issue with AI and the emulation on it, and the way that the octave that the Oasis songs are in and where the vibrato falls, it just lines up with what Freddie will do. And so I'm like listening to the good Oasis songs done by Freddie, and they're fucking convincing, like very convincing. And I'm like, you know what? I officially don't need to listen to Mr. Bad Guy anymore. Thank you, AI. That's the only good thing it's ever done. But yeah, you're right though. It does go that way. Jonesy says comic books suffered the same fate as baseball cards in the 90s. The value of them is lost. Star Wars things only increase 150% on some of the Master Replicas lightsabers. It's insane. But I would also say all the action figures are the originals are worth something, but like Power of the Force 95 figures, it's negligible. Yeah.
And the comic book thing is, I'll tell you why, because the baseball card motherfuckers from the late 80s, early 90s got into comic books. Mm-hmm. And that's where Gareb Shamus and their family, like Wizard Magazine, Overstreet, all these guys get into comics because the baseball card market crashed. And they brought that shit over into comics, the speculators market. Yeah. And then pump and dump the whole fucking industry then. It's the way that tech bros kind of do shit now. So, yeah. And that's where, again, Wizard Magazine, all these fucking price guys that tell you what your shit's worth, which is bullshit, you know, come from.
Those guys were awful too. I remember like going to like comics, like card shops, like as a kid. Sometimes they would have like Star Wars comics or something random. So I go there to just like see. They were always like dicks. Like they, like that whole like, but that's like, I think the jock culture, like, you know what I mean? It's like that. It's that weird intersection where capitalist meets jock, and it's like, fuck off, you're the worst of the humanity. But yeah, I know, I remember the era well of when all of that was dying out. Maria says 2 days ago I had a conversation where I confirmed that Anakin and Luke were returning as FGs in my fan film. Our Facebook page had 1.4 million views on that. And then all of a sudden it explodes. And people are saying that Anakin and Luke will appear as FGs in Rey's movie. But I think that has to do with my fan film, and people are twisting it. So that's really fucking interesting, Maria, because like then that makes a hell of a lot of sense. Because yesterday someone was asking like what I thought the validity of that was. And I was like, I think it's pretty low considering that there's not really a final draft or even a draft of the film at this moment. And they're not writing them now. So like, are they really going to go and start like, you know, casting people and bringing people in and shit like that? And those guys. And I just don't think that news would be breaking now if it was true. The way it's going to break is, number one, they're going to call up, they're going to be like, hey, Hayden, are you, or Hayden's agent, are you down is he down? Will he do this thing in November of 2024 or whatever? And then they're like, yeah. And they're like, okay. And then they got to do like costume things. And then the word starts to get around, like it doesn't, like there's nothing going on. There's like nothing is happening. So why would it get out at all right now? And that was like my take on it. Like sometimes, something comes out and you're just like, well, maybe, but to realistically say that one's a maybe, it's like, no. And I think that makes a hell of a lot of sense that you put that out there and people don't read and people skim, they misunderstand. And then here we are. Yeah. Tell me, I want to see it. Cause I mean, like you doing that at that very time and then that coming out the way that it did, it makes a ton of sense. And like, we're in for this level of stupidity for a while until this writer's strike winds down and Hollywood gets back on the horse. Who knows like when that's going to fucking happen, but we are up for so much fake shit. And like, it's so dumb. Like, for the most part, like I don't debunk things because I just feel like, like when there's a couple of people like on YouTube who just lie all the time, constantly. And I'm just of the mindset of like, if you're still fucking believing them after like this many years, you're dumb. I can't help you. Nothing I could do. And then whenever I do debunk something, and like, let's say the person just messed up. They thought they had a real story. They didn't mean to mess up. Then I'm a jerk. You know what I mean? Or they hate you, or they fucking made it up. You debunk it and then they just hate you. And now you got this enemy, So I'm of the mindset of, you know what? If it doesn't come from me or one of my friends like Bespin Bulletin, I don't fucking know. No, probably not. Probably not real. Don't know. So I was like leave that kind of shit alone. But I think you just debunked that shit probably. Like that's a pretty impressive. Like I'm gonna take a screenshot of. I don't know if I'm able to see the views that it got or not, but if I can, I'll take a screenshot of that and show it and be like, look, like this happens and that happens. Come on, guys, we could do better than this. But yeah, Brandon asked, did you guys see the news that Natalie Portman is open to returning in Star Wars? Yeah, like the full quote is something along the lines of like, yeah, sure, why not? But they never asked, and I started thinking about it. I was like, how could you do that? And like, and I had the idea because in Fortnite, Rob, I'm playing as a very sexy torn shirt Padme. Mm-hmm. It's that, but my voice comes out. Yeah, think about it. And so I'm playing as Padme, and I started thinking about. I was like, you know what I would do if I were in the old Star Wars and we had like 20 years of this Galactic Civil War. I'd fucking clone Padme to fucking get in Vader's head. Fuck with him, right? Padme starts coming at him.
The place to do it was the Kenobi series, and
yeah, mystical,
immortal. You know what I mean? Like,
well, that's what's badass about Vader Immortal, and makes it where if you have access to VR, definitely fucking play that shit. But also where it sucks that like it happened in Vader Immortal. You know what I mean? Right. Like with that being canon and being at that level of production and the money that they put into it, it's yeah. I just don't think that was the place to tell that story. I'm glad they did, but I'm also not happy that they did, because yeah, that belonged in the Kenobi series. And Natalie Portman belonged in that one, you know?
Yeah.
And we even, I mean, in that series, even fucking did like young Obi-Wan and Anakin. Like he could have fucking walked out. She could have fucking walked in there and been like, yeah, I mean, 40-year-old Anakin, you know, who's like, hey guys, I'm 19. Like he's fucking Dylan in 90210. He's like 36 playing an 18-year-old. Yeah, it was, I don't know what that was about. They de-aged him. That's the weird part, man. They like did like, I don't know, do a good job though. Yeah, they should have deep faked it or something over it. But point being is, yeah, they could have put Padme in those moments. They could have had her, you know, show up with the cloak in that little tower or something after Obi-Wan walks out, and they're like, oh damn, they're gonna get it on and make a Luke and Leia baby. But anyways though, but like Natalie Portman, like the thing about her is seems like the most unlikely one you could ever do. And what was funny, I think I've shared this like story before, but some sources of mine texted me during episode 7 or episode 9. I think it was episode 7. Sorry, I mean episode 8. And they're like, Natalie Portman's walking around the studio in her underwear right now. You're missing it. That's all they said. It was like, and then like I don't hear from them for like days, and it's like at Pinewood, and I'm like, fucking hell, like, is this their way of telling me she's in the movie? And I like sat there and I wrote the article just in case, like Natalie Portman is fucking filming at Pinewood right now. And then I'm like, but I couldn't get a second source on it for like a really long time, or, you know, for like days. And so I sat on it. I ended up not moving. And then it turned out that they rented out their space to that Natalie Portman movie that she did that year. You know, it was just like a weird coincidence. But for like a couple of days, I thought Natalie Portman was back. And I was like, how does this work? Because like in the article, I'm trying to figure out like how does this fit into The Last Jedi? You know what I mean? Like, how does this, or whatever it was it Last Jedi? I can't remember if it was episode 9. It was that one movie, that like space movie that she did, that like futuristic one, you know? I think, is Poe Dameron in that shit? Can't remember now.
What, Arrival?
Yeah, it might have been that one. Right. But yeah, and she's, damn, you got some impressions. Maria just sent a picture over here. I'm gonna see if I can put it on the screen. Yeah, but so in the first teaser for her film, her fan film, which everyone should, I'll put it on the screen, and then you guys can go check it out. Check out the teaser, or if my stupid computer will airdrop the fucking photo. You know, sometimes it does what it wants.
Sorry, Mac.
Oh, yeah. I'm on the World Wide Web. You know, okay, hold on. I'm dropping the image into cyberspace. The image has been dropped into cyberspace, and now I can share it. Mm-hmm.
Are you jacked in?
Yeah, I'm jacked in. I'm hooked in. See, there it goes. So this is it right here. They've confirmed it, and so this is where they bring. We are so excited to bring you the first teaser trailer for our upcoming fan film, and then Maria, it's called the Chosen One. And like first impressions, 1,425,501. That's a fucking lot. And so like when you get down to it, that's in that 1.4 people, there's a lot of dummies. There's a lot of dummies to not follow along correctly. So
insert Rainn Wilson, it's true.
Right? It's like, true. Yes. Yeah. So it's called Star Wars: The Chosen One, Episode 10. So yeah. So anyways, yeah. Check out the trailer, and then, you know, like fan films pretty good time. I'm sure Star Wars Santa, and hopefully I could do the one when he does it. So Star Wars Santa will go and he'll like look at fan films, like watch through them, and he shows like some of the cool parts, but he doesn't show the whole thing, so that way people watch it. I'm gonna ask him when he does yours if I could do it. If I could do it with him, that'd be fun. I want to see it. I want to see how it comes out. But anyways, yeah. But yeah, now Natalie Portman. I would love to see her come back into Star Wars in some way. I just don't know how they would do it, and I mean, she doesn't, she's like much older now. So, I mean, maybe she could play a different character or like, a different like character in that family or something, or take it into some interesting place. But I still think that for as much love as like the Skywalker thing gets, it's not as pop of a choice. But the Naberi family, you would think, would still be something to capitalize on, right?
Crunch Naberries, right? They never do Captain Crunch Naberries.
The serial opportunities of doing that are huge, Rob. They're huge.
Jason, you think I don't know this?
I know.
We're through the looking glass here, people.
Yeah, there was a I don't think it was real. It probably wasn't real. But one of the early rumors for Star Wars Underworld was that it was about one of her family members, and like how what happened in the aftermath to them and stuff like that. And I still think that's a solid idea. You know what I mean? Like Padme's family, because I mean, like, if you get Luke and Leia, like you can just say it's all Anakin if you want to, but you don't have to only say that. You can literally spin the narrative that when Padme and Anakin make those kids, something special happens, and both of those families are important or powerful, or there's potential there, and I would love a series about what happens to that family, like after Amidala's death, and what happens to when you're
to no end about we spent $100 million on this, and where's my lightsabers? You'll never hear the second hand of it.
Yeah, but I mean, even a book. I mean, like a really deep book on it would be fine. If it was done by like Lucino or something, like I'd be happy with that. Because if you think about it, Darth Vader's their fucking son-in-law now. Like, that's fucking Darth Vader's son-in-law. That's what the comic series from Marvel is going to be called. That would be one of their fucking dumbass titles. Darth Vader, son-in-law. And he's all like, he's like a gun. Like, son-in-law. Yeah. But, oh, no, how about this? Darth Vader, twin sons-in-law. Come on. Do you follow it? Yeah?
The chosen son.
The chosen son. Yeah. I'm going to squeeze your berries now. Jonesy says Bix and Padme in a trash compactor scene. 7 sounds pretty awesome. Definitely bring Natalie back. Okay, check this out. Okay, I got it. I like where your mind's at. The water is rising. The trash compactor's closing. The water is rising. And they got to wrestle to get the breathing device. Whoever wins the wrestling match will live. But with a Dianoga, and then it becomes like a tentacle porn thing. But I'm not into that. So you could have it, Jonesy. It's throwing it back to you. Since real Ben Mater, just like, what the fuck? Sorry, Jedi Mike. Yes, Mara Jade, laugh out loud. Yeah. Jedi Mike says hashtag no Mara Jade. I find it weird that Mara Jade is like as out of things as she is. I think she's out of everything and hasn't been hit upon, because the powers that be at Lucasfilm were probably mostly hired when she was Luke's wife. But when you really look at the history of the publications of the Mara Jade like story, she's not Luke's wife for fucking years worth of content. And they won't use any of that content. But the point is that character has survived without being Luke's wife. And she could have a flirtation with Luke. They could have a romance. They could kiss. They could make.
They got to be like moonlighting, but they never get together. You know?
I mean, yeah, I mean, like my take has always been like I if I was writing it, I would have Luke and Mara. I'd say Mara gets knocked up, right? Luke doesn't know, and then she realizes like, oh shit, like he's not gonna, he's Jedi by the book. He reads the old books. He can't be a Jedi now. If he knows, I gotta go. Then Mara Jade leaves, goes and does her own thing, has a whole other life, and then has that kid, and then you get to have more Skywalkers in secret. See, that's why I like it too, because I think it becomes like love that couldn't be, like Anakin and Padme, but then it also you could do some more Skywalker stuff, but I'm also okay with them never touching the Skywalkers again, But if they're going to do it, I would rather they go that way. If they're going to, instead of just being like, oh, my name is, Lando Skywalker, you know what I mean? Because why not? I'm okay with the array thing thematically, just to be clear. I know someone will be like, you don't like it. No, I really am fine with her being Ray. If my name was Jason Hitler, I would change my name to Jason Skywalker in like 2 minutes. What Ray did makes complete fucking sense. And especially if the ghost showed up to me and we're like, at the end, like, okay.
The ghost of Hitler shows up.
Oh no, he's like, yeah, here we are.
I did not really lose the war. I did not really. I quit.
Yeah, man. Anyways, though, all right. Well, I think we went way long. I didn't think we had a show today, Rob. I was like, we'll go for 45. That's what I told Rob.
You know how many times you've said that?
Yeah, I know.
You've been like, we don't got a show today. I'm like, we could talk about this every day with no news.
I know.
Despite what people think.
Because we're the two old guys playing chess in the park, but it's just looking at Star Wars pieces on a board and being like,
"Well, the old guys on the Muppets."
Yeah,
like I know a lot of people want to be those guys, but I really feel we are those two.
We need to.
All this shit is stupid.
when I get a better computer, I'll do the back. We need to do the backdrops, together. But
Bespin shows up like Fozzie, or just make fun of him,
So wait, what's going on? Maria is doing a live stream at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. If you already what is the like locations that everybody knows who can go check it out? I want to go watch it. I will watch it either way. The only thing for me is that I got my kids tonight and I got to feed them. But if I'm able to watch it, I'll totally watch it. Oh, okay. I thought you were doing, but wait, what is going on? It's for Scotty. Why does Scotty get this? Why is Scotty cooler than us? Who the fuck is Scotty? Okay. Anyways, no, but I mean, by all means, Maria, if you're doing a stream, fucking drop the fucking details, So yeah, it's our After the Sequels channel. So look up After the Sequels, and then you can check it out. Cool. Yeah, no, I'm always down to watch anybody's Star Wars stream. It's always fun, and especially our friends. Scotty said I heard he doesn't know. Oh man, what's going on, Rob? What do you think? What do you think of Scotty? Do you think Scotty's pregnant? Do you think who's the dad, Scotty? No. Okay. Anyways, okay. So Maria sent some. Oh yeah. See, I didn't look at my phone for once. Here we go. Okay. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna drop the link into the chat, and then that way you guys could watch the trailer, Maria's trailer, and then you can also subscribe to the channel and watch her stream at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time tonight. Here is the link, and if it's a link to something else, then well, what was I looking at before? That's the question. But it's all After the Sequels. Oh, there it goes. Whoa, it's playing in the background. Okay, that looks cool though. It looks cool. I'll watch it. All right, everybody, we're gonna go now. I gotta go get ready to. My son is sick. He stayed home today. It's always just sick kids. That's my whole life. It's one of my kids being sick now. And but my daughter wants to walk home by herself. And I said no. And she's like, I can do it. She's like, I could do it. And I'm like, no, you're not going to. And then I'm like, she's like, well, if you're not there, I'm walking on my own. And so
you got your genes.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. And I'm like, no, you're not. And she's like, she didn't say anything, but so I got a feeling what she's going to do is she's going to like try to like bolt out as soon as school gets out to try to walk home on her own, hoping I'm like 2 minutes late. And then she has the excuse. So I got to be there early today is the point. But we'll be back tomorrow. What's tomorrow? Tomorrow's Friday? Yeah, tomorrow's Friday. So we'll be back for our last show of the week. And we'll be talking about something Star Wars. Hopefully it's good news. And hopefully there is news. But either way, we'll talk about something. And Rob?
Yeah.
We are those guys from the Muppets.
I told you. No, you know who's our Fozzie? It's not Bezman. It's Santa.
Santa's like Waka Waka a lot. Yeah, he's pretty Waka Waka.
He comes on there and I hassle him to no end.
Yeah.
It's stupid.
I think Bespin and Azature are Bunsen and Beaker. But anyway, you guys, they could fight about who's who.
I think he's more like a Scooter.
Now, if you know Bespin like as personally as I do, he's a gonzo. He's a total gonzo. But anyways, thanks everybody. We'll see everyone tomorrow. Bye. Bye, Rob.
Bye.
It's the end of the show.
Come on, let's go. Hey!
It's the end of the show.
Come on, let's go. Hey!
It's the end of the show.
Come on, let's go. Hey!
You know you should go.
Come on, let's go.
It's not about space